Welcome back to the Stories That Shape Us. As always, I am your host, Brock Doty. It's June, and that means Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. We're in the middle of a 4-part series dedicated to breaking down the silence around what men are really carrying. This is episode 2 of 4. We're diving into the real, raw, and often ignored conversations that too many men are too scared to have out loud. Today's story isn't just about pain, but it's about power. It's about what happens when you're one step from the edge and choose to step back. All the way from Oldham, England, our guest, Mark Coope, is a man who's decided to walk through hell with his eyes wide open. He's known the weight of trauma, the sting of depression, and the silence that nearly swallowed him whole. But more importantly, he's here today. And now he's using that pain to lead others out of theirs. Mark is a mental resilience coach who have helped men climb out of the same hole that he once stood in. So, Mark, thank you for being here all the way from England, and welcome to the Stories That Shape Us. I'm happy you're here.
Hey, no problem. Thanks, Brock. Thanks for that introduction. It's great to be here, and I hope you're well and you're doing a great job with your men's mental health awareness. It's something that really needs to be dealt with, and we really need to work on the stigma of men not wanting to talk. It's something that could cause me a lot of problems. All I had to do at some stage was just open up to somebody, and I'd have been fine. But I'm a bloke. I'm a chap. I'm a male, and we can handle it, can't we?
Yes. Well, I'm happy you're here, Mark. And
Thank you.
as someone who's lived through the fire, and you've walked through PTSD, depression, and near suicide, I love that you're helping other men now find their way back from the edge. So I want to start from the beginning, where it all kind of started. Well, I guess before it started, before we get into all that
Yeah.
and the trauma. I want to take a step back, and sometimes I think when people hear stories like yours, they only focus on the dark chapter without realizing that there was a whole life before pain.
Absolutely.
And so take us back there for a minute. What was life? Wow, what was life like for you before the attack? What kind of man were you? What kind of dreams were you chasing? What were you looking to build?
Life was fantastic. Was in my early days. I played rugby league over in England for a local amateur team. We were sort of like one of the best amateur teams going. I played that for 20 years. I mean, and this comes in later because playing that for 20 years, you get used to the hits. You get used to being hit. You get used to being, the impacted on. When I finished playing rugby at 35-year-old, I got pretty bored in my life, so I thought I'd do something different. And then at 38, I decided I'd take up jiu-jitsu. Traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, not the Brazilian version, which is great. It's a great sport, but I wanted to do a proper bona fide martial art. So I started doing that on January the 8th, 1998. And then I set some really weird goals there because I wanted to be a black belt before I was 40.
I love that.
And I also wanted to be a black belt in the millennium year. But the problem I had was that it was a 4-year program. From starting to black belt is 4 years. And really I only had 2 years to 2.5, less than 3 years to do it in. So I told this to me, I said, this is what I want to do. And they said, no, you'll never do it. You can't do it in that time. Anyway, September 2000, I was at Liverpool doing my black belt grading 2 years, 8 months after starting. What a roller coaster that. And I'll just put in that he had a major operation. He had to have what called a Gilmore's groin repaired. I tore me the tendons and the ligaments and the muscles off my hip bone. So I had to have that operated on 10 weeks before, but I still got it. I still did it.
Wow.
And that was the first time I actually saw the power of a dream and the power of focus, knowing that to be able to do that. I mean, I was training 5, 6 nights, 6 times a week. I trained every night and I trained Sunday mornings, and I never made it. I tried to make a million and one excuses for not going training, but it always came down to the fact, well, if you don't go training, you're not going to get your goals. And that's what it came down to. And that was where I saw the power of what you can actually achieve in your mind. So that's the sort of guy I were. Just prior to doing my black belt, I met the girl who was to become my wife, Rachel, just a few months before. We got married. We got married later in the year. Fantastic. We had a fantastic time. She brought two toddlers with her, and then we've had one of our own since. And I said we settled into quite a good family life. We got on brilliantly. I had a few failed relationships in the past. You know, I mean, I was getting on a bit by this time. I was in my 40s. Yeah. But we're getting on. Everything was good. I had my own business, repairing HP design jets. Life was pretty good. We were getting on, and the kids were growing up and getting ready to leave. We hadn't at that stage, prior to the attack, we didn't have any grandkids, but they've come along thick and fast recently. So yeah, life was good.
Well, hey, that sounds like an ideal life.
Yeah,
You were very active.
we had like everybody, we had our problems. You know, I'm not saying we didn't have our problems. We did. We had our arguments, but then you got two people, as all marriages are, it's two total strangers really that are starting to live together, and they've both got difference of opinion, and you have to learn to be flexible because of the discipline from the rugby and the discipline from the jiu-jitsu, the martial arts. I was always pretty flexible. You know, I didn't like arguing, didn't like fighting, I didn't like anything like that. I just really wanted an easy life. I've done all my fighting on the rugby pitch for 20 years. I didn't want to do any more of that. But I did take up jiu-jitsu, which is really strange. But you know, that was just something that I needed to do because it's part of the process whereby, you know, you used from 15-year-old to 35, you're used to doing something on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, training, playing, training, playing. You know, so when I stopped doing that, all of a sudden it was like I'm missing something in my life. That's why I took up the jiu-jitsu, and I just loved it because I was used to being bounced on the floor, so that was always good fun.
Yeah, yeah, you felt that void.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it did. It filled a void. But then when Shannon was born, our youngest daughter, she had a whole zoo of problems, and I actually stopped training at that stage. I actually stopped doing jiu-jitsu at that stage because it wasn't fair on Rachel to be looking after herself until we got her sorted out. And we didn't get her sorted out till she was coming up to 13, 14 by the time she finished all her operations and everything. But now she's got one more to do, which is a realignment to her jaw, and then she's done. But now she's a 23-year-old with her own family as well. So it's brilliant. We got through it. So then I started back training, and then I stumbled on an opportunity to buy a club, which I never wanted to be an instructor. I never wanted to, not so much an instructor, but I never wanted to have my own club. Well, that went away. I ended up buying this club, which was too good an opportunity to turn down, and I've been doing that, running my own club for the last 9 years now.
Oh, wow,
You know, I've
good
trained.
for you.
Yeah, it's been brilliant. But I've trained 17 people to black belt, and then there'll be another further. Next year there'll be another further 8 coming on that. But we lost a lot with COVID. I think everybody did. When COVID hit, we had to close the club down. We had a club of 35, 40 students, and when we reopened, only 5 came back.
Wow, so you had to rebuild after the
Yeah,
pandemic.
and I think everybody had the same problem. It wasn't just us; it was everybody, really.
Yeah, it was worldwide for sure.
Yeah, so we started rebuilding, and now we're just seeing it's all coming through again now. 4 years down the line, we're getting the people getting ready. Just got 7, 8 brown belts now who will be taking the black belts in March next year.
That's exciting. That's really exciting, Mark.
We're rebuilt and we're going.
Absolutely. So, can you walk us back to the moment that everything changed for you? The moment that everything shifted, everything that unraveled, both physically and emotionally?
Yeah, sure. We'd gone out one. It was a Friday night. It was a Friday night in February 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016. And we'd gone out, myself, my wife, and our eldest daughter Heather. We'd gone out to a friend's 60th birthday party celebrations. And we'd left our youngest daughter, I think she was 14 at the time, memory man. We'd left her at home with 4 of her girlfriends. They were having a scary movie and pizza night.
Oh, that sounds like a teenage girl dream.
Pizza, I can cope with, but scary movies. Why do people watch scary movies?
They don't entertain me, that's for sure.
No, 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 no. They all watching, the girls watch them, and I'm sat there like, I hate scary movies. So they were having a pizza and scary movie night. Anyway, one of the girls phoned her boyfriend, who phoned his mates, and they'd all have a lunch. They all knocked on the door, stormed into the house, trashed the house. I collected single malt whiskies. I had quite a good collection, and also the bottles of wine. They nicked all them and drunk all them. We turned up in the taxi. It wasn't even late. It was about quarter to 12, half 11, quarter to 12. Got out of the taxi. There's 20, 30 kids on the drive. When I say kids, I mean from about 16 to about 20. The kids to me. And I got out of the taxi and said, what the hell's going on here? And I'm on the floor, trying to figure out what happened. And I stood up and I feel this thing on my head, and I put my hand on my head. It was covered in blood. And what had happened is I'd walked past this guy and he swung a bottle from behind and smacked me right on the top of the head here from behind. Came across my head, cut my head, broke my nose. I got up and turned around to face him, and I was back on the floor because his mate had hit me on the back of the head with a bottle. It was my whiskey as well. It was my whiskey. They could have brought their own weapons. They had to use my weapons against me.
Exactly.
So I got up and I realised by this time my brain was scrambled, but I weren't going down again. And I got up and I turned to face the second attacker just in time to see the third bottle coming in an arc. And I was just, everything was just instinctive from then. I instinctively blocked it. I instinctively dropped the ball, wrapped his arm up, and then I hit him. I hit him so hard. I could have killed him with one punch. You know, I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt. I teach jiu-jitsu. I'm an ex-rugby player. You know, and I hate this guy. Oh God! And then all hell broke loose. I just went absolutely insane. In fact, it was that bad when they'd run off. And there was, bear in mind, there was about 20 of them, 22 of them. When they run off, I was chasing them down the street. Rachel, my wife, came and grabbed hold of my shoulder, and I almost turned around. I stopped the punch about 3 or 4 inches away from her face. I was just so totally zoned out. I was out of control.
What was going through your mind when you got hit with the first bottle and then you realized that there was more?
At that stage, I was fighting for my life. I honestly believed I was fighting for my life, and I just really wanted to inflict as much pain and aggravation on these guys as I could, and as many of them. Which I'd just gone. They said you see the red mist. Well, yeah, it wasn't. The red mist really descended on me. I was just absolutely on somewhere else. It wasn't me. I went to hospital. I had X-rays. They had scans on my head, and no concussion, no bleed on the brain, nothing. The doctors couldn't even figure it out. I did have an episode when I was in the waiting room. I had a relapse in the waiting room, and they ended up with 6 security guards around me. But that was all pretty good. But you know, I got sent home to convalesce and rebuild, and that's where the problem started. Because as the physical injuries came down and started healing, I mean, I was a mess. I looked like a panda. I'm thinking another one, covered in cuts and bruises all over my body, which didn't really bother me. But that didn't really bother me. That's the physical bit. But as the physical injuries came down, the mental injuries went up, and I just went on a journey really that I wouldn't wish that journey on anybody. It was just horrendous because I should have asked for help. I went through a personality change. I went from being this plastic guy to being sort of like totally aggressive. Somebody had said something to me that I didn't agree with, and that'd be it. It'd be like, I'd be at them, I'd be jumping in. And I just literally went, it was just a bit at a time. And it's like, I've just done a post on this today. It's like the old saying, when do you know you're lost? At what stage? If you're driving down the road, if you're going somewhere you've never been before, you have a vague idea where you're going, but at what stage do you actually know you're lost?
Probably when you start seeing things that you don't recognize.
But you've never been there before. But yeah, when you see things you don't recognise, but your mind still tells you you're on the right track.
You're right, because you said you've never been there before.
Yeah, and you still keep thinking, oh, it'll just be around the next bend, That's what I was doing. I was totally lost. I was lost within my own mind. But I was thinking, I can get out of this. I can find a way out. If I go down here and I'll look for this, I'll look for that. I just became totally engrossed in my own mind. I just went going round in circles. Then I started revisiting the attack, and I started doing that. And then I revisited the attack, and it was all right until I got to the point where I blocked the punch, and I struck back, and that was the cause of the PTSD. Not being attacked. It was what I did because I had lost control. My mind was saying, well, you're going against all your belief system. Your belief system is that you're always in control, you can handle any situation, you only create minimum effort, minimum violence. If someone attacks you, you're supposed to just do what you need to do, not what I did. So I gone totally against my belief system, which causes spiral down and down and down and down, down and down, and everything about myself just crumbled. I became a different person. I was a totally different person to what I was.
Totally consumed you.
Yeah, it did, and it was that, and that was that punch, that me losing control just haunted me, and that's what caused the mental health issues.
What did PTSD feel like for you, Mark?
It felt like I was trapped. It felt like I was living the same moments over and over again. I'd be sat watching something on TV, and all of a sudden I'd just go bang, and I'd just zone out, and I'd start screaming, and I'd start sweating or crying, or just couldn't, just shaking. And then I'd come down, and then I'd be all right, and then it would happen again. And I just couldn't get past that moment. That one punch stuck in my mind all the time. If only I hadn't done that, and then I'd go down again. And that was the best way to describe it. It felt like I was being controlled. That something externally was controlling me like a puppet, and every time I tried to move on, it would just pull me back. Come back here. You know, that's how I would describe it. It was horrendous, and
yeah, that sounds terrible.
I just started these anxiety attacks, and and it was just, it was a roller coaster. And then things started really going bad, and it just got more and more. And I was lost, but I was still refused to ask for help because I'm a male and I've got an ego. But I put a facade up. Nobody knew. Your wife suspected, but it was like, yeah, I'm fine, no problem. When I met people, it was like, yeah, I was bouncing about, it was fine, I'm all right, there's no problem. When I got on my own, but in my own mind, it was like, I was going through this nightmare scenario. I didn't sleep at night because once all the noise of the day subsided, and that everything's nice and quiet, that was when the demons came to get me. Do you say you are, you say you're this and you're not, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. Why don't you just end it all here? What's the point of living anymore? Because you're just a fraud. It was like, I don't know, all the time this is going on in my head.
You were trapped in your own mind.
Yeah, my own mind was trying to tell me to top myself, to kill myself. And eventually,
crazy.
It almost won. I got to the stage where I gone to the dojo because I always had I had a spare room at the dojo where I did all my design jets and stuff, and I got there to fix them, and it was like, what's the point? What's the point of bothering? So I remember, but I don't know how I got there. I put a note on the door, on the outside of the door, do not open, call the police. And I don't remember doing that. I saw that on the way out. And I remember just being stood on the table with a rope around my neck.
Wow, that's deep.
I was one step away, literally one step. I just needed to. I was in the middle of the table here, but I'd gone anywhere around the edge of the table. I got overbalanced anyway,
Well, I'm happy you're still here, Mark.
Yeah, so am I, but that wasn't the end of it, because even then I didn't ask for help. My wife didn't know anything about this. She didn't know what was going on, Rachel. She had no idea. And then I went to the doctors in January last year. For something totally unconnected, there was a female doctor, there was a female trainee doctor, and there was my wife Rachel, and there was me, this 6 foot tall, 18 stone. Well, I was a bit more than that, because one thing I did during that time was take up comfort eating, which is a really good sport. It's a really good sport. If it didn't move, I ate it, and if it did move, I tried to eat it anyway. I just ate and ate and ate and ate. I didn't drink. I didn't turn to drink. I just ate everything, and I piled the weight on. So you got this, for want of a better description, alpha male. ex-rugby player, jiu-jitsu, black belt, sat in the middle of the doctor's surgery in just a pool of his own tears and snot, where he just cried for 20 minutes non-stop.
Wow.
Just total,
Probably felt good to let all that out, though.
total breakdown. Total breakdown. But that was a turning point. That was the point when I came home, embarrassed, shocked, feeling like I didn't belong anywhere anymore. I went up to the room and said, "I'm just going up to the room, Rach. Please don't come up." And I went up and I just fought my demons. I said, come on, bring it on. Bring it on. We're not doing this anymore. We are not doing this anymore. So I fought the demons. I went down to Rach and I said, "Everything changes today. Everything changes now." And she just put her arms around me and said, "Go for it, babe." And that was the start of the journey back outwards, which was by no means easy.
No, it's not going to be easy.
I had 8 months of therapy, which I didn't want, but I asked for it. And I also found an online mentor who I'm still working with to this day. He's been so brilliant, Matt Jope, he's called. He's been an absolute amazing person with me. We've worked together. I've just moved on to another one of his programs, and the therapy. And I had a chance phone call from a guy called Jeremy. He was a martial arts master. He was a 5th dan at Kung Fu. And he said, "Look, I'm going to give you a free hour just to talk to you." And in that 1 hour, we found the cause of the problem, which was the punch I threw. What haunted me. That was the cause. That was what has caused all the problems. In fact, I'd done that. And from that point, boom, it was like weights had been lifted. And then I really started moving forward then. And we're working with Matt. We decided that my big bugbear now is blokes, one of the better phrase, and please, if all you guys watching this, don't get offended, but we're basically stupid. We're basically idiots, us blokes. We're great people and pillars of society, but we're basically idiots. When we have a problem, when we get lost, we're driving our car, we get lost. What's the last thing we do? The last thing we do is stop and ask for directions, because we can sort it. When I was going through my problems, if at any one stage I'd have said, "I need help," I wouldn't have gone through. Where I was would have stopped there. Where I was going would have stopped there and I would have started. Because I didn't ask for help, you can't help somebody who don't want help. And that's something we've got to do. That's something we've got to do. We've got to change this male psyche, this male thought process. Big boys don't cry, man up. Sometimes we are human. We are humans. And as such, we have human emotions. Yeah, we don't show them, but we still have them. And we tend to just go back into our caves and work the problem out. But we don't, because our imagination then starts playing with us, and it starts doing this to us, and it starts doing that to us, and the guilt comes in, the shame comes in, the anxiety comes in, and we start building it up again. And all of a sudden, what starts as a little problem becomes a big monster.
Yeah, it festers and builds into something more than it actually is.
Absolutely. And that's what we need to do, is just say, yeah, look, yeah, I know I'm a bloke. I know I'm the editor, so whatever you want to look at. I mean, I'm still a bit old-fashioned, mate. I'm 64-year-old, so I'm still the boss. I just don't tell my wife I am. We need to start thinking that, yeah, we have problems. People have problems at work. There are successful people out there who've got good jobs, they've got good families. And they're on the knees because everything's gone on top of them. Who puts their arms around the proverbial arm around the bloke when he's hurting? Nobody. We don't ask for it. Who gives us hugs and says, "It's okay, buddy. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to feel this pain."
Yeah, there's this worldwide stigma that a lot of men believe that asking for help makes you weak. And
Yeah.
I thought like that for the longest time. And so you learn the hard way that that's not true.
Yeah, so it's something we've got to change. We're in the 21st century now. We're no longer having to go out and slay the dragon and bring the food home and things like that. I've always viewed male and female relationships, yeah, we have our laughs and jokes about girls can't play football, things like that. You know, we have a laugh and joke about it, but male and females now, we have a symbiotic relationship. We need each other. Me and Rachel need each other. I need Rachel's side of things and she needs my side of things. We need, by working together, we become one, not two different people. And we need this symbiotic relationship, and we need to understand that we have the same emotions as women, we just don't show them. And it's like if you get a bottle of soda, you call it, get a bottle of soda, it's nice and tidy like that. When you shake it up, pressure builds. And pressure, if you keep shaking it, pressure will keep building and building and building. Sooner or later, it's got, when you take the top off, it goes.
That's a great analogy.
That's the same with emotions. We have to get the emotions out because we can't hold them in. You can't keep holding your emotions in. Sooner or later, you're going to explode, which is exactly what I did. I exploded with the fact that, firstly, I tried to take my own life, which wasn't a pleasant experience. Secondly, I had a breakdown. Now, that breakdown could have gone to one of two ways. I could have looked at it and said that, how can I go on to cope with my life from here on in? Or I can just look at it exactly what it were. It was a warning and say, change your ways, buddy. Change your ways now. Which is exactly what I did. Because I could have just gone the other way and it could have taken me down the other path that I'd already tried once. But I might have been successful this next time. So, and that was all because I let these emotions, these feelings, this fear, this hurt, this regret, this shame build up in me so much that I couldn't control it. It took a life of its own and it started controlling me.
Let me ask you this, Mark. What did you learn when you finally reached out?
I learned that asking for help was a lot easier than I thought it would be. I also learned that there are people out there that want to help. That as soon as I asked for help, it seemed like I was no longer alone. Because I spent 6 years alone. I lived in my family with my wife and 3 kids. But I was no longer alone. During the stage of where I was, our first grandchild was born, Mason. He's 3 now. And he was a fantastic kid. But I didn't see him. I interacted with him and I played with him and we did some things. And when he got a bit older, I used to fix stuff with him for him and things like that. But I didn't see him. I didn't see the kid he is now. He was just an object. He was just an object. And then Poppy came along, our granddaughter, and I didn't really see her. Now we've got three grandkids. 3 and a bit. We've got another one during about a month, so we'll have 4. And they're all brilliant. But I wasn't the person I was then, and I didn't really take any notice of them. They were kids, you know. What I've learned is that people try to reach out to you, but they don't know how. How do you reach out to somebody? How do you reach out to someone who's behind a locked door? You know, you can't. Locking yourself away is not the answer. You have a problem, particularly with your mind, because your mind is a very powerful tool. If you treat it right, it will work with you. But if you let it work with you, if you let it control you, then you've got problems. Because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. And if you start putting that stuff in there saying, I'm a bad person, I don't believe in myself, I have no respect, I'm supposed to be a nice guy, but I'm not. Your subconscious believes that, and that's what it creates. So what I learned was, ask for help. Ask for help.
What's your mindset around that now, asking for help? Or being emotionally honest with yourself versus back then?
I don't have any problems anymore asking for help. If I need something done, I openly talk about it. Yeah, it's not been easy because I've done podcasts in the past where the earlier ones where I've been absolutely in tears at this stage. But now I've learned to control that. I've learned that the attack wasn't my fault, but I believed it was. I believed my actions. I believed it wouldn't have been that bad if I'd have just let them, like they say with the grizzly bears, let them kick you about a bit, and then they'll get bored and run off.
So you blamed yourself for the attack?
I blame myself for the attack going on as long as it did.
Interesting.
But if that third bottle had landed, it wouldn't have gone on much any longer anyway. It's a really strange concept. It's really strange. That's what I did. I actually blame myself because what I haven't said is that I went absolutely insane. The guy that I hit with the punch, yeah, he was in hospital for a while. The other 5 had hospital treatment. And when the police came round, they said to Rach, "What the hell did he hit him with?" And she said, "He didn't. It was just him.
Wow.
It was just him. He used no weapons. It was just him." And yeah, but then you start thinking that these were kids. They were 16-year-olds, 22-year-olds. The kids. What right did I have to do what I did? Your mind plays some silly games on you.
Absolutely.
So,
Wow.
yeah, that was it. That was more or less what happened. So I've been working with Matt for a while now, since January last year. Initially, because I almost destroyed my life. I almost destroyed my marriage. I almost destroyed my family. But what I did destroy was my business. Not total that just went. Customers are great until they need something. If you don't supply it, they'll go somewhere else. And I don't blame them. I really don't blame them. I understand why they've done that. So I thought, in the past, I think everybody has had a bit of a dabble online. Hey, join this program and you'll make £74,000 by tomorrow morning. We've all done that, I think. But I've always known that the internet is the place to build businesses. So I wanted to get into affiliate marketing. That's when I got Matt. After talking with Matt, he decided that's a waste. That I need to go into coaching. That you need to share this story and help people in a similar position with yourself.
Is that what made you go into the mental health coaching space? Is because you
Yeah,
felt...
absolutely. It's not so much mental health coaching space. Yeah, it is. See, I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified mental. I don't have a certificate that says I'm a mental health. But what I do have is experience. I've been there. I've been to the very brink, and I know I couldn't have done it on my own. So I had this program called the Survival to Significance program, which is a lot of people are actually just in survival mode. All they're doing is just existing on a daily basis, and they don't know how to change. But them steps are not difficult once you know how to take them. Once you understand what's going on in your mind, they're not that difficult. So I want to move people from that survival mode into a mode back into significance where they were. And this is so many people, and there are so many top executives in this position where they're struggling. They think they can't go any further. How are they going to live their life when they retire? Have they got enough money for the retirement and all this? And this is just playing on the mind. And that once you start asking that question in your mind, your subconscious gets hold of it and tears it apart. All of a sudden, you've got a major problem on your hands. And that's what I do, is that I just talk to people and coach people through.
I love that, Mark, because you didn't just heal, but you turned your pain into a platform. And obviously that shift didn't happen overnight. And so I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. That's basically the story, is that, I could have just got on with it, but I thought, no, there are people out here, and people don't want to talk. They don't want to admit they've got a problem. But I'm saying, hey, look, it's not easy, but it's worthwhile. It was the best thing I ever did. The best thing that happened to me after the incident was the breakdown, because that was the turning point. That was the turning point of my life, whereby I suddenly decided, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not playing this game anymore. But I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I was lost. I had to ask someone for directions. I had to ask a therapist for directions. I had to ask Matt for directions. And that's what people need. They just need directions. They just need a roadmap to get themselves from point A, the place of pain, to point B, where they want to be. And there's a road. That's all they need. A roadmap to get there. That's all I provide, is this roadmap, which it's anything between a 3 and 4 month course, because you can't do it all in one go. It would just blow your mind. It takes a long time just to get trust in people, just to get people to talk to you. You can't just say to someone like that, yeah, I can see you're a bit down, and so tell me, what's the problem? It's got to be, you've got to draw them out. I had to be drawn out.
I love that you have positive role models in your life that are drawing that out of you. How long have you been coaching for?
I started my coaching training last year. I've not been doing it that long. And I've just been learning how to do it and learning how to interact with people. And I've always been good at interacting with people. I have my own business, but just learning how to talk to people. And a lot of it is not talking to people. A lot of it is, as I always say, You have two ears and one mouth. You should use them in that ratio. You should listen twice as much as you talk. So I just ask questions and let people talk to me. Take notes and then ask them more questions and then start drawing them out. Because if people don't, you can't say to someone, "Oh, tell me about it." You've got to, it's a process. You have to go through this process. And they have to go through the process, and it's not easy. But it's about being open, being honest, and being authentic with them. You can't be something you're not. I can't say, if they start clamming up, I can say, "Look, I've been there. I know how you're feeling." And I can tell them exactly how they're feeling, because I've been there.
Yeah, and that's what's awesome about your coaching platform is you're coaching from experience versus textbook theory. And I think that changes how you connect with your clients. Like you've been there, you've walked it out, and you've made it out on the other side. And so I think you can help other people see the light at the end of the tunnel.
The biggest thing we have to overcome is the guilt and the shame, because people, once something happens, like I did, I became so guilty. I felt so guilty about what I'd done. I apologised to my wife again about it again this morning. You know, I said, "Look, Rach, I'm sorry for what I did." She said, "You don't need to. You didn't do it deliberately. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter to me." I apologised to her and said, I will, give me a chance. I'm putting it right. But the guilt and the shame, I mean, I still can't face my rugby mates at the moment, because a lot of them know what went on. And they know what happened, but I still can't face them. I just can't. And yet these are the guys who if they'd have been there that night, they'd have died for me. We've been through a lot together over the years, but I still can't face them. And that's something that I'm working on myself. I will face them, I will do it, but this is where we have to change. This is with the process. I'm still going through that process, but that part is literally the last step. All the steps in between are the ones that count.
Absolutely. I think you don't need to apologize anymore. And I think I tend to over apologize, but I think it just comes from a sense of you don't want to hurt that person again. And so, based off of what you've gone through, that probably was traumatic for her as well. But go ahead.
Absolutely, I think she's lived every moment of it, and I've just hidden away, and she's the one who's to put up with. She's the one who's had to hold the family together, and I've just hidden away in a box or a darkened room, and just said, "I don't care about you lot, because I've got my own problems." Basically, that's what I did. If you look at it that way, it's exactly what I did. And the guilt and the shame of doing that when I should be the person stood at the front protecting everybody.
Do you think more men are waking up to mental health, or are they still barely scratching the surface?
I think we've barely scratched the surface, but people are coming around to it now, and it's all about the promotion. We have to, that mental health. As I say on my website, on my Facebook page, it's okay not to be okay. You know, we don't got to hide it. If we're feeling bad, if we're struggling with something, talk to somebody. It's simple. Just talk to somebody. People, I think I almost checked out. I almost checked myself out. Any one of my mates, my family, would sooner have sat down and talked to me for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, 2 days about the problem, rather than carry me coffin down the aisle. That's what they'd sooner do. They'd sooner talk to me rather than go to my funeral. You know, and the people are like that. People will talk to you because it's better. Because at the end of the day, you know what? Yeah, we've got a few financial problems. We've got a lot of financial problems because I really screwed up. Not unintentionally, which I'm putting right. But apart from that, life's pretty good. Life is good. Life, you know, every single person who's alive today is a winner. Every single person is a winner. Because you had to be the first one to get to the prize, to be born in the first place. So you're already a winner. You beat 3.5, 4 million people trying to get that prize. So you're a winner to start with.
Yeah, very true. Very true. What would you say to the men that are still clinging on to the old mindset of man up or rub some dirt on it?
God, yeah, what would I say? I would say it's a brilliant concept, guys, but perhaps we've been misinformed in the past. Perhaps being a man, manning up, is admitting that you've got a problem, not hiding from it, not hiding it away, not putting it in a box. It's better to talk than it is the alternative.
Absolutely. It is better to talk and not keep that all suppressed in. Sometimes it's hard, though, but it eventually needs to come out. Let me ask you this, Mark. What would you say to someone listening who's barely hanging on, who's on the edge? What would you want them to know today?
I want to know that it's not the end, that it's only a decision away to change your life. It's only a phone call away. It's only a conversation away. Life is precious, and no matter how bad you feel, every storm passes. Storms don't last forever. The sun will shine again, and you will, sooner or later, you'll come out of this, and you'll look back on it as an experience, and you'll be stronger and stronger for having that experience. So don't succumb to the dark times. Don't succumb. Everything that's in your mind, everything that's going on in your mind is not real. You can always find the trigger point, and from there we can rebuild. At the moment, if you're trying to move on without actually finding the trigger point and reframing it, you might as well build your house on quicksand. But life is precious. The storm will pass, and don't take a permanent solution for a temporary problem.
Well said, Mark. Wow. Life is precious, and we do have temporary problems. Sure, some are bigger than others, but they will all pass.
They will.
All right, another question for you is,
Yeah.
do you have a daily habit or a shift that has helped you or your clients stay in the fight?
My initial daily habit was just getting up and saying, "You're a good person." I used to say that 4 or 5 times in the morning. I used to get up. First thing I used to get up and say, "You're a good person. It's a nice day. You're a good person. It's a nice day." I just needed to get that positive affirmation going on for myself because I believed that I wasn't a good person. Wherever you are in life, whatever point you're at, there's always another way you can take. There's always another path you can take. Just believe in yourself. Just build your own self-esteem just by believing in yourself. Just keep saying to yourself, when you look in the mirror in the morning, don't look at the horrible person that you think you are. Look at the person you can be. Look at the person you used to be. People who are suffering from mental health, they've not always been like that. There used to be people way back when which were full of the joys of spring and full of life. So think of the person you used to be and think of the person you can be. Focus on what can be, not what is. Because what is temporary.
Focus on the gain, not the gap. Focus on all that you have achieved, not the shortcomings in your life.
Yeah. It's a strange thing. I did one exercise. Literally get a piece of paper, split it in two down the middle, list down one side all the good things you've done in your life. Every single thing, no matter how insignificant it seems. Then list down all the bad things you've done, all the things that have gone wrong. And once the good things will always exceed the bad things, but the bad things are what we focus on. I focused on a 15-minute incident, less than 15-minute incident, for an entire life. At the time, it was 7 years ago, so I was 56 at the time when this happened. So I thought after 56 years of life, for the next 6 years of my life, I just focused on one incident, one bad incident that had happened. Less than 15-minute incident. Totally controlled my life for the next 6 years. But when I did the exercise and I look at all the things, I met Rachel, married Rachel, it was pretty good for me. I got my black belt in 2.5 years, 2 years, 8 months. I was the quickest person in the World Jiu-Jitsu Federation to ever do that. I still hold the record for that. I played rugby for 20 years at a reasonable level for 20 years. And we won loads of stuff. We had a really successful team. And then you look at all the other things you've done. I was a swimming instructor. I was Oldham champion at high jump. I was always in the high jump. I was good at it. Just these little things like this. I used to be a pool attendant. I was a pool attendant at 15 while I was at school. I went to college. I got a degree in electronic engineering. And all these things, and it's just not that. I mean, it was like a nice person. I once, this is just the stupidest thing which I put down, which made me smile, was that a friend of ours wedding. And there was two levels in this building where they were. And there was a main dance floor and all that stuff, and then there was the bar area, which was up 5 steps. And I was going up the steps, and this girl was coming down the steps when she slipped. And I just caught hold of her one hand and held her up and put her back on her feet, and she walked down, and nothing happened. She'd have got really hurt, but it was just something stupid I did. And then 5 or 6 people, and they all started clapping because it was like, oh, a good catch. That was a positive, and it was just stupid things that I put down that I'd done. And then I looked at that and I put them, and to be honest, I couldn't remember half the negative things that had happened in my life. I can't remember any of them, except all I could put down was the 15-minute incident that virtually ruined my life.
Wow, isn't that crazy to think? Like those 15 minutes that you held on to, but you have a whole lifetime of memories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
A lot of years of memories. Focus on the good things in life. Focus on the good things you've achieved. Focus on what you're proud of, what people are proud of, what you've done. You know, it might be something silly like you made the college football team. That's still a positive. I played rugby in France. We went touring, and I went play for Oldham Schoolboys and went touring in London, play penguin in France. Things like that, you know. It's just focus on the good things, because we're all winners, you know. If you pass your driving test, that's something good. You've achieved something.
Yeah, I think if we focus on the good, we change our mindset completely, right? So
Everything. Even when I started reframing the incident, the entire incident, I reframed it because I looked at the things I teach my students. Never rush in, step back, assess, and then make a plan. But I just walked into it. I just totally forgot about that, walked into it, bang, this happened. So I went totally against everything I teach. When I started reframing the fact that if I hadn't hit that guy, like I did, he would have no problem. He'd have no problem taking me out. He was on the way with the ball. I acted. If I hadn't done that, my kids wouldn't have had a dad. You know, I started reframing it, saying you did the right thing. And once I convinced myself that I did the right thing, and people were saying you should be proud of what you did. You defended yourself against 20 people. I did take some lumps.
oh yeah,
But
yeah, I'm sure you did.
you know, you should be proud that you've done that you managed to come out of it on the other side. Yes, it's hard, but look at the incident. You find the incident that's causing the problem, and then just pull it apart. Because when you pull it apart, what you think happened, and when you analyse what actually happened, it's totally different.
Well, you came out on the other side, and I love how you're helping out other people. So before we close out today's episode, I just want to ask you something that I think is important. Mark, I'm giving you the floor to speak directly to the men out there who are struggling today. The ones who haven't really told anyone what they're carrying, but the ones that think their silence is strength, even though it's not. So Mark, whatever's on your heart, I want you to say it and just speak to that man. And this moment's yours.
I know what you're going through. You don't think I do. Whatever's happening in your life at the moment is only temporary. Ultimate best thing you can do, and you don't feel like it is at the moment, because I didn't do it initially, is to just go up to somebody, friend of yours, your wife, might be a buddy, just go down and say, I've got a problem I need to talk to you about. Come and grab a beer. Come and grab a coffee. Because your friend, your real friends, will listen to you. They won't take the mickey, they won't judge. They could potentially save your life. And like I said earlier, I'm sure they'd sooner listen to you rant on and rave and see you cry if necessary for half hour, an hour, rather than go to your funeral. Think about that. Don't make a permanent solution for a temporary problem. Talk to somebody. That's all I'd say. Just talk to somebody. Talk. People can help you.
Awesome, Mark. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for giving me the time.
It's been awesome. Hey, it's a conversation. It's real authentic, and it's just authentically you. So I just thank you for your time, joining us all the way from Oldham, England. And so I'm going to say a few words, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, okay. It's been fantastic. Thanks for having me on your show.
So after sitting down with Mark today, a few truths actually hit me like a freight train. And if you're a man and you're listening to this right now, I want you to lean in, because this isn't about surface level motivation, but ultimately it's about survival and it's about healing. First things first, you're not weak for struggling. And that's something that Mark touched on today. You're human, and you're allowed to hurt, and you're allowed to feel. You're also allowed to have days where getting out of bed is a fight, because that doesn't make you broken, it makes you alive. But too many of us men were never taught how to handle that. From a young age, us men are told to man up, don't cry, be tough, and we internalize it. We bury that sadness, the trauma, and the anger deep down. But I want to let you in on a little truth. What we bury doesn't die. It actually festers. And before we know it, we're walking around with some invisible wounds, smiling in photos, cracking jokes, showing up to work. Meanwhile, deep down inside, we're numb. We're drowning and trying to stay afloat through everyday life. That's why what Mark shared today was so important, because he has been to that edge. He didn't read about it, he lived it. PTSD, depression, suicidal ideation, that's not what's, and that's ultimately what saved him. Not the silence, not the pride, not pretending everything is fine when it really isn't, but what ultimately saved him was his vulnerability. Just let that sink in for a moment.
Absolutely.
The thing most of us were told to avoid is the very thing that opens the door to freedom. And what I've learned today during this episode is that vulnerability isn't soft, but it's power. It's saying, I'm not okay before the breakdown hits, and choosing to talk to someone instead of isolating yourself. It's admitting that you're struggling so you can start healing and start living. And look, I get it. Some of you listening don't want to talk. You've been told for years that emotion equals weakness. You may even feel ashamed for feeling anything at all. But I want to be clear. Mental pain is just as real as physical pain. You wouldn't walk on shattered ankle and call it strength. So why do you ignore anxiety, depression, trauma, and PTSD until it consumes us? If you take one thing away from this episode, I want it to be this. You don't have to do it alone. There's no medal for suffering in silence, because you don't earn your worth by carrying pain quietly. There is help out there, I promise, and there are people out there who care, and your story is not over, not even close to being over. So this Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, at the Stories That Shape Us, I just want to encourage all of us men out there to normalize the hard conversations, to teach the men in our lives that being a man means taking care of your mind as well as your heart. Not just pushing through the pain, because strong men cry. Strong men feel, and strong men get help. But ultimately, strong men survive. And then they help others do the same. And Mark is doing exactly that now. And if you're hearing this, you can too. So talk to someone. Check on your friends. Go get a coffee or beer like Mark suggested. And be honest with yourself. And if you need a lifeline, don't wait. Reach out. If you're listening to this today and thinking, I don't know how much more I can take, I hear you. I can assure you that a lot of us have been there, and you're not alone. But there's a Bible verse that I keep thinking back to, and I don't say life won't get hard, but the Bible verse says we don't have to get through it alone. And so in Isaiah 43:2, it states, when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep you over. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. And that just hits home to me, because that verse is not about avoiding pain, but it's about enduring the pain with God's presence. Because God doesn't say if you face the waters or fire, He says when. Why? Because pain, trauma, grief, they're all part of the human experience. But here's the truth. Presence is more powerful than an escape. God promises that I will be with you, not just on the good days, but in the darkest days, the most overwhelming moments. So I want to go through a few symbols that I realized with this. The waters are symbolizing being overwhelmed. When you think about your thoughts, emotions, trauma, and they feel like they're just crashing over you and you're drowning in your thoughts. Rivers are forces trying to sweep you under, like anxiety or flashbacks. And fire, that's the pain, the pressure, and the moments that should have burned you up. But here's the promise. Those things will not destroy you because God is with you. I handpicked this verse for the verse of the week because it speaks to the man who is quietly suffering. The man who's showing up to life every day, barely holding it together. I want you to know that God sees you. He hasn't abandoned you in the storm or within the flames because ultimately you're not dying in it, but walking through it, and you're not walking through it alone. So as I wrap up today, I just want to remind you that Mark's story is living proof that healing is possible, even when you've stood at the edge. And if you take nothing away from this today, I want you to take this. You're not weak for having moments where you're struggling. You're human, and we all have these moments, at least some point in our lives. I want you to remind you that you're never alone, not in the pain, not in the process, and certainly not in the comeback. Mark reminds us that real strength isn't loud. It's not in the pretending, it's in the preserving. It's waking up, showing up, and refusing to let darkness overtake us. This was episode 2 of our 4-part series in men's mental health. And next week, we're going to go somewhere a little different. We're taking a deeper look in the kind of strength that doesn't always look like strength, especially from not what the world expects from men, but the strength that is quiet, that is internal. However, it's very intentional. The kind that shows up in therapy, stillness, and presence. So when everything around you wants to shut down or disappear, your strength and the way you talk with somebody else will come through, whether it's a trusted friend, a parent, or even a professional. Real strength shows that hard conversations are meant to be had. It's in having the courage to look someone in the eye and say, I'm not okay. And you don't have to carry it alone. Letting someone in isn't weakness, but it's ultimately where the healing begins. And hey, if you're listening to this right now and you find yourself struggling, I've included several mental health resources and support networks in the show notes. Whether you need a crisis line, someone to talk to, or the tools to take that next step, they're there for you. I encourage you to use them and don't wait. But as always, thank you for listening, and until next time, take care of your heart, take care of your mind, and keep showing up. This has been The Stories That Shape Us, where each week we discover real stories, real growth, and real impact. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.